We are Mid-Michigan Hemp Supply, located in Midland, Michigan, specializing in your trusted hemp genetics and services. Contact us now to lock in your preseason pricing and let us help you get your 2021 hemp plans underway. You can reach us at info@midmichiganhempsupply.com. Check out our website at midmichiganhempsupply.com, and don't forget to check out our social medias.
My name is Dave Crable. I'm with iHemp Michigan. iHemp Michigan mission is to advocate for education, inform, promote the research, development, and cultivation of industrial hemp here in Michigan. iHemp Michigan advocates for wellness in people and the planet through hemp, and it begins with the farmer. But we're going to go to Ann Arbor to Mike Brennan of the Michigan Marijuana Report. So, Mike, what's going on?
Well, a story came across the transom that we have on the website that talks about how genetic editing offers marijuana and hemp companies a way to improve their plant strains. And so there's a new genetic editing technology out there in the world now. And it does it without creating a genetically modified organism, GMO. We don't want those. It's called, and I'm going to try to pronounce this right, CRISPR-Cas9. Just came on the market, developed by a couple of guys that are offering this for the medicine and agricultural field. And they must have done pretty good because they won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry for their work in 2020. So they impressed the judges in Sweden. More details at mimarijuanareport.com. And another thing that it's still in the works, as it were, Merrick Garland, who's supposed to be, or has been nominated to be the next Attorney General, said this week that he doesn't want to see the Justice Department wasting its time going after states where adult use is legal, because he just doesn't see the point, because it's really more of a states' right thing from his point of view, versus the previous administration, which was not a big fan of cannabis, to say the least. So that's good news on the cannabis front. That means that we won't have the feds in Michigan taking a look at everything because they just don't think it's worth their while. Other than that, those are the kind of big headlines out there. If you want to read anything else that's going on in the Michigan cannabis world, you can go to my website at mimarijuanareport.com. Oh, I forgot to mention, I was talking to Dave before we started. I have my own show. That's the 420 Post thing you see on Wednesdays. And there are only 2 licensed micro marijuana businesses in the state. That's where you have 150 plants or less. It's totally vertical. You have to process and grow, and you can only sell in your provisioning center. Well, we had both licensees on the show yesterday, which is available at either 420 Post or mimarijuanareport.com. And they talked about it's very challenging for little guys to compete in the space with all the big guys. And so but a lot of people I know are taking a look at, gee, should I, do the micro business thing? Well, before you make that decision, I would recommend you take a look at that show, because again, those are the only 2 licensed ones in the state. They were very candid about all the obstacles they run into and the amount of money that they've spent. One has spent $600,000 already. Certainly not for the faint of heart. So interesting show. Check it out. And again, at mimarijuanareport.com. And back to you, Dave.
Who's on your show next week?
Still getting that worked out. We might do, there's a lot of talk about social equity, so we might get some of the few people of color that are involved in the business on the show next week to talk about that. According to the latest stats out of the MRA, African Americans are only 3.5% of the players in the Michigan cannabis space, and Latinos are only 1.5%. The rest of them clearly are, and primarily are white men. So that's what the MRA wants to do. They want to get more opportunity for people of color to participate in the business, because if you look at who's in jail for drug busts, it's a lot more people of color percentage-wise than white people. So they want to kind of help those people out, rectify that. Oh, and the Michael Toohey thing. Are you going to talk about that, Blaine?
Well, why don't you touch on that?
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, Michael Toohey is, it was one of the first people to really get involved in medical marijuana. And, a number of years ago, he's one of the big players in the state in that space up in Traverse City, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And so he takes he uses medical marijuana for his various aches and pains, and he got charged with probation violation because he got arrested because he was in the space early on, and there was some difficulty. You don't need to go into a high level of detail. Well, essentially, he could have just said to heck with it and walked away from it because now adult use is legal in the state, but he chose to make a point and took it to court. And the judge threw out the conviction and then changed the law now to say that, if you got a medical marijuana card or you're in a state where it's legal, that's not considered a parole violation if you're on parole. So that was actually a big stake in the ground for the industry, and kudos to Michael because he didn't have to take this to court, but he wanted to make sure there was case law on this for others that come behind him so they won't have the same difficulties that he's had.
Yeah, and he has it's not a GoFundMe, it's a campaign through Facebook, I think, to raise some money to pay for his expenses.
Yeah, he's asking people to donate to pay for his legal costs because I think it's in 6 figures. I made a small donation. Certainly, a lot of other people have as well.
Yeah.
So kudos to Michael. We all know Michael. He's been on this show. I've known Michael for a couple of years, and I'm glad that all worked out. I mean, it's time to get past the reefer madness stuff from 80 years ago, right? Let's move on. So.
Yeah, these the opioids and everything else that they want to push people to are not helping. So we need some real relief. So that's great. So speaking about pioneers and game changers, Blaine, you have some news, and we lost a really important pioneer this week.
Yeah, I never got a chance to meet this gentleman, unfortunately, but quite a big player. Everybody that's been in this space for quite a while. Dion Marcraft, if I'm saying the last name correctly, passed away in his sleep on Sunday, February 21st. And Don was a force in our community. If he was in the room, you knew it. And I'm not sure if there's anyone who believed in the U.S. Hemp Building Association as much as Dion did. He was the founding vice president of USHBA and was so critical in the initial thrust of the organization. Without him, we would not be here now. Plus, when you do look him up, I'm sure he has quite a long history also with medical use marijuana out in California and some other things too. So again,
I had the pleasure of speaking to him a couple of times. He was a great advocate for where we see the future coming, a sustainable building and all the great things that hemp's going to make happen. So big loss.
Yeah. So there will be some more information on that, and there will be, if anyone knows that or wants to support that, there will be a memorization coming up in a few weeks from U.S. Hemp Builders Association. So we'll keep words on that for everybody. Let's see what else is going on in the hemp world. Well, we're pretty excited. Last week, we got invited to be able to participate and help with the hemp industry, our advocacy that we've always talked about in kind of a big way. We're going to wait till all the paperwork is signed on that before we announce what group we're going to be helping out, working with. But we're really excited to be able to lend our voice to help move the hemp industry forward for sure. So. Plus, there's just a lot of things that are happening behind right now with a lot of manufacturing and stuff. And some things we really can't talk too much about yet, but just want you to know that the hemp industry is looking pretty good for the state of Michigan in the near future here. So hopefully if things fall in place, we'll be able to do some stuff yet this year. So that's what the plan is right now for sure on that. We're hoping for that. So. A couple other things that are going on, the USDA program, some deadlines are coming up on that. If you're thinking about getting crop insurance for your hemp crop this year, you have until the middle of March 15th to be able to do that. If you need some assistance on finding an agent to be able to help you with that, Scott Colville, one of our members, he was on the show a few weeks ago. You can find him under the business director if you need to, and he can help get some quotes to you so you can see on that. So I would highly suggest that anybody that is growing CBD or any hemp crop this year, that you look at the crop insurance. It may just help you out quite a bit if you have some crop losses there, and it seems to be fairly affordable for that situation. Also, the regular programs for USDA, those are ending in the middle of next month. The sign up for the what they call a CFAF program for the contract growers, that's also coming to an end. So also you need to register this year with the FSA office your crop. So if you haven't done that, reach out to your local FSA office. You can find that if you need to by going to USDA county offices, and you'll be able to get your county and then your phone number to contact them. Pretty simple process. It does take a little bit of time. You got to give them some information, but they're all great people in those offices, and they'll be more than happy to get you all set up for this year and get going on that. So I got a little show and tell. I'll show here. There's doing some research the other day online, and I found a place called Wood Caskets, and they are making caskets out of the hemp wood. And they're very, very nice looking caskets, but they also make an urn, which I'm just going to show you here. So this is the urn that they make. This one's stained. They can also put if it's going to go in the ground, they don't put a coating on it, but pretty nice. That's available. So they're using it. I think, Mike, you said it right. Everybody's dying to get in.
I was going to say, everyone's dying to get one of those, I think, right? So if it's made out of hemp and it goes in the ground and it's uncoated, does it biodegrade along with your ashes then, or is that the?
I would think so over time. Yes, it's pretty substantial. So I think it would take a little while to break down. But I did check with with the Fort Custer Cemetery, and they do accept those. Not a problem. They don't have a problem with doing that. So,
Huh.
Yeah. So. Other big news going on, Dave. You got the show me.
I will show you the show me.
Sure, show me the show me. Okay, so Missouri is having their expo coming up next week. I think there's still a little time if you need to or want to get onto the virtual part of that. Just a little side note that if you do buy the virtual pass, that we get a little sharing of the love back on that, so it helps us out. I don't know how they are on their raffle tickets, but if you haven't looked into that, it's $17.50 for a raffle ticket, and it's a fishing trip with a very well-known fisherman.
I think Dave bought all the extras down already.
I'm going to check and see how many are left to buy, because if Dave didn't, I'm going to buy a few more. That's for sure.
We're going to go to Missouri to do some fishing.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
So iHemp Michigan, there it is. Yep, there's the fishing packet trip.
There's some nice crappies right there.
Yeah, big ones.
So I will be on that segment. They've asked me to be a speaker and a roundtable on that. So I guess I get my more 15 seconds of fame. So there's Megan. Yeah.
So. Yeah. So let me go back up. Yeah. So it's only $35 for the virtual portion. And this is also One Voice for Ag is a major component of the Show Me Hemp. Is there something specific you wanted me to share here, Blaine?
No, just wanted to show it so that people could get a look at it if they want to get onto that virtual and buy one for that.
Yeah, showmehemp.co is the website.
I won't be on until the evening time. I think it's 7 o'clock our time, 6 o'clock their time is when my roundtable is. So when I'm on.
Excellent.
So, anyways, a lot of exciting things. I'm pretty pumped this week about where things are going. So, but with that, I'll probably have some stuff at the end of the show to share a little bit. But we are really, really welcome and honored to have a couple of great people on today's show. Jen and Jeff. Jeff Kostuik has been. If a lot of people know Jeff. If you don't know Jeff, he was one of our very first speakers at our very first event.
Oh, you know what? I even have a picture here.
Oh, yeah. Jeff hasn't seen that picture. Yeah.
Let me get it where I want it.
Is it a complimentary picture? Or?
I think so. I don't think it's bad.
Oh, well,
is that him there? He looks a little younger there. So
a little thinner.
Oh, well, yeah.
So January 26th, 2019.
Uh-huh.
Yep, our very, very first event for iHemp Michigan.
Yeah.
Jono was still walking around, talking to people. We didn't get Jono in this pick, unfortunately. But
I think also that was one of the ones that was entered for the Hempies Award too. Oh, I meant to mention that too about Michael. Michael is an award winner in the Hempies this year from some of his products too. So,
Oh, Michael Tui?
Michael Tui. Mhm.
Yeah.
So Jeff has a very very lengthy and very impressive background. I'm going to kind of touch on a few highlights here. Jeff's career path is nationally involved from a love of agriculture and the family farm, called upon for his knowledge gained from the farm law, along with his applied research background in hemp industry. Jeff has an innate ability of relating with producers, colleagues, and fellow professionals alike. Jeff is passionate about the hemp and the opportunities that are available, whether it be through the use of fiber, grain, or oil. In 2015, Jeff began a career with Hemp Genetics International, where he takes a lead role in sharing his agronomy knowledge to the client base. Hemp research continued to be a focus for Jeff both in Canada and abroad, determining the varieties will perform in varying conditions and climates. Jeff takes great pride in developing business relationships on a local, national, and international level. Along with his work with HGI, Jeff is an enthusiastic hemp farmer. We're going to talk about that one. That's a good title there, enthusiastic hemp farmer. Working with his brother-in-law on the farm, producing registered and pedigreed hemp seed. Past experiences include being the Manitoba provincial contact regarding hemp agronomy, as he was the project lead for hemp research trials in Manitoba. Employed as a diversification specialist with Manitoba Agricultural, Food and Rural Development, while working alongside the Parkland Crop Diversification Foundation. Jeff has been involved in hemp research since it was legalized in 1998 in Canada. Past projects have included working on national variety trials funded through the CHTA, as well as working on minor use projects. This is interesting. I didn't know this about Jeff. This is a new thing on him. It sounds like he's becoming a writer now. He has authored a chapter on hemp agronomy for the book Industrial Hemp as a Modern Commodity Crop, along with the late Dr. Dave Williams of the University of Kentucky. Jeff is the past director of CHTA and still is the chair for the National Variety Trials. There are more things I could say there, but I'm going to stop there. Otherwise, we take up all the show and we wouldn't be able to get all the great information that Jeff can provide to us. So, Jeff, welcome.
Thank you. And I told Becky to delete a lot of that. I'm humbled by it, but thank you very much for having me, Blaine and Dave, and pleased to meet you, Mike, and I can see Jen in the background too. Hi.
Yeah.
So, Dave, you want to give our other guests?
Oh, you want me to introduce Jen now?
Well, let's give her background, and then we'll come back to Jeff.
Okay. All right. Well,
it's really more of a states' right thing from his point of view.
And I went right to the iHemp Hour page to read that, and it started playing the audio.
So, so you hit that button then, huh? So
yeah, well, no, I didn't hit that button. I'm still not good at that. Yeah.
We're still trying to teach Dave to hit the share the
share the audio.
It's a work in progress.
So Jen, we've known Jen for since the very beginning. Jen got involved with iHemp Michigan and I love this word. I actually had to look it up. I've heard it, but it's like, wait a minute, because Becky pulled this out of the matrix somehow. Jen Nelson is a fervid female hemp industry leader. I thought that was a good one too. So Jeff said, what was it? An enthusiastic.
Wow. I
like and Jen is a fervid female hemp industry leader.
Ooh.
In Michigan. Jen's with Mid-Michigan Hemp Supply, and they have 2 locations, one up in Midland, a big greenhouse, and we've had Jen on from the greenhouse. Are you up in Midland now, Jen?
I'm in Milford today.
You're in Milford today. They have a farm in Milford. And, Jen has over 12 years of experience in the marijuana industry. And we learned something new about Jen as well, because she has a deep knowledge of the plant, but not only is she an advocate for hemp, but she also received an award from Michigan State Senator Debbie Stabenow and State Representative Mike Rogers. She was awarded the congressional recognition for superlative work ethics in the workforce. So Jeff's just great to have as part of our group. We're looking forward to her energy and her knowledge, and that's we're really happy to have Jen as part of our show and part of iHemp Michigan.
Glad to be here.
So Jeff, let's start a little bit with the grain end of things. Again, we're excited what's kind of happening here and what's going to happen as the future goes forward with this crop. So help us a little bit with the grain a little bit. What are you seeing as the market has? And U.S. Hemp Feed Coalition just announced that they've got that project going with the poultry stuff. So
Yeah, so there's a number of things I think that are kind of on the go. Naturally, hemp grain or the hemp food industry is what's been the driving factor for industrial hemp in Canada here since inception, I guess, or since it was legalized in 1998. So in my research days, we did a lot of the work on agronomy for hemp, but also on the fiber aspect too. But each individual, I guess, revenue stream or industry comes with its advantages and of course its challenges. And the low-hanging fruit has been in Canada, at the least part here, has been on the grain side of things. We've had companies like Manitoba Harvest, who are the pioneers, Hemp Oil Canada. Now those two companies have merged to form one, Fresh Hemp Foods. We're a competitor with them. We have a sister company to Hemp Genetics called Hemp Production Services, where we process into hemp hearts, cold pressed hemp oil, and protein powder. And US is obviously a large customer of ours, along with additional international companies. But so our focus in breeding has been to kind of make industrial hemp attractive for farmers in the northern climates right now, because our varieties are photoperiod sensitive. Predominantly just be able to use conventional equipment to farm it just like any other commodity crop. And so that's been a huge part of our focus. And now we're seeing more interest, I think, since the legalization in the US on fiber and of course CBD. But on the grain side of things, that's been sort of our bread and butter for some time. And I think you will see that happen in the US too as we move forward. I think once consumers are educated a bit more on the nutritional value of what hemp food brings to them, there's going to be much more processing. There's a few processors in the US that we work with currently on helping them out with genetics and agronomy. But I do think that hemp grain and food has a very strong future in the US.
So there's been some trial information that has come out lately on different varieties and things. Any surprising things there you saw with the different varieties and different yields or value of the crop?
Not necessarily. Again, I've been involved with the National Variety Trial in Canada, and we, similar to the US, our genetics came from Eastern Europe. Essentially, they were very tall varieties that had some grain potential, let's say, but were very tall because at that point in time, there wasn't a very strong food industry within hemp. And so we had some huge issues, and I giggle because there were some fires within combines when you're trying to push through a 15-foot stalk through a traditional combine and not knowing the exact time to harvest and probably waiting too late, having that crop just too dry going through a combine. There was definitely some wrapping on some internal components that caused some smoke and fire. But I think with regards to the data that's shown, hemp definitely has a fit. There's an economic value to grow hemp for grain. Our varieties are an option. They're not the only one, but they're definitely a strong option, I would suggest. They've continued to prove their worthiness. And as far as harvestability, once there are some herbicide options in the US, something else that is another side project of mine that I work with the IR4 group. They have some good herbicide tolerance. There's 2-year set of data, I guess, that came out of Michigan. And I think you're going to just see an ever revolving winner of that. And hemp is very reflective or affected by local environment. And so, in 1 year, perhaps one variety might be able to sustain a drought period in a certain month, and then it elevates itself as far as the grain potential. So always be cautious is my word as far as taking 1 year's worth of data, and particularly one location, and use it as a tool to make your decision on garnering or purchasing a variety, but just take it with a beat of caution, I would say, too, on that data. So until more data is there.
Jeff, when people are securing seed,
I was just going to ask, is hemp grown in all the provinces of Canada or just some of the provinces of Canada?
Pretty well all the provinces now. Similar to, probably not different than the US, but the Western provinces, much more broad acre production and on the grain side of things. And that's kind of where it was born. We're selling, we've entered into the CBD market now. I'm distributing the first, it's a hybrid, true hybrid, feminized high CBD variety in Canada. We can get into sort of the certification and pedigree a little bit later, but so we have a list of approved cultivars, and it's the very first one. And that one's a little bit more popular in Ontario, just north of you guys there, sort of in that tobacco country. Again, those tobacco farmers switching over to possibly hemp, but the broad acre agriculture, definitely it's going across. And then I just, prior to this conversation, I was in a Zoom meeting with somebody from Newfoundland, which is definitely on the eastern coast of Canada, and there's interest there on both grain production, PEI, a small little province also. So yeah, it's spread out pretty good, but the bulk of it, again, on the western prairies.
Okay.
So Jeff, we know that seed's important. Genetics are important with this whole thing too. So when somebody goes to buy grain, what should they look for? What should they be cautious of as they go down that road to buy the grain?
Well, yeah. So I guess one of the things, and I'll touch on this now then. So in Canada, you have to purchase pedigree seed to plant. It has to be, first of all, Health Canada is the regulatory body that regulates it. And the pedigree program essentially means that you start off with breeder seed. Breeder seed is planted to generate either foundation or registered seed. Registered seed is planted to produce certified seed, and certified seed is what is generally in the hands of a producer. So the THC testing is done through those 3 levels of pedigree initially, so breeder, foundation, registered, and for seed production. So the farmer doesn't have to take the test of that field. So a uniform crop, a stable crop, and a distinct crop are 3 sort of pillars of pedigreed seed. And what that gives is the consumer or the farmer the confidence that if he's going to order CRS1 from us, it's been third-party inspected to say that this looks like CRS1, this behaves like CRS1, it has the stability THC wise, and is an advantage. So to me, that's a huge advantage in the system, or something that a farmer should be looking at. Is you have to have the germination on there, what the impurities are within that seed lot, and those are all identified on the outside of the bag along with that blue tag. So it just gives you that confidence. And so something that a farmer should look at is whether that seed has a pedigree or certificate. And there's other certifying agencies like the Colorado Seed Association also has one, but they're really just looking at the stability part as far as THC. So they say, yeah, it falls within the guidelines of THC, but it doesn't tell you anything else about the stability or the uniformity of that genetics. And so that's important. And on the CBD side, you want to take a look at C of A's certificate of analysis to determine what the CBD levels of that particular plant are, and making sure overall is making sure that plant or that seed that you're purchasing is suitable for your growing area. Many of the genetics are photoperiod sensitive, meaning that the lower in latitude you go, that it definitely has an effect. So day length and daylight intensity has a huge effect on the plant growth and how that plant is going to mature. So lining yourself up with a reputable seed dealer that can provide you with that information is extremely important in my mind.
Do they test the grain in Canada anymore for the THC level? Is it a requirement?
Just on that pedigreed level. So as a seed grower, then I am a pedigreed. You have to have. Well, I think they did away with that, to be quite honest. But yeah, you do have to have your field tested for THC on all varieties. At one point in time, they had many of those varieties were exempt from testing, but now they just do it at the pedigree level, so there isn't that extra cost for a producer or farmer.
So a grower doesn't have to have their field tested, but you as a seed provider or seed grower, you have to have that.
That's correct. Yeah.
But what's a license to grow cost there, Jeff?
Zero. Doesn't cost you anything. Just it's an application, online application. It's called the CTLS, and basically, yeah, you just apply for it, and we've now advanced so that we get 3 to 5 year licenses also, because it was just such a time-consuming effort to get your license renewed every year, and I think, hopefully not too many people from Health Canada are listening, but the first few years of me growing, pretty sure the field was in the ground and a lot of times harvested before I actually got my license to make me legally able to grow it. But that was just the nature of the beast, that it was so delayed. And so there's been improvements, and that's one of them, is having multi-year license.
Man, I can't wait till we get to that point.
What is the maximum THC level in Canada?
It's 0.03%.
Same as here then. Okay.
Yeah, same there on total THC. Yeah.
So let's go over a little bit about planting. So you plant it 25 to 30 pounds to the acre, and you get about 25 to 30 bushels, right, for grain?
Yeah, so yeah, that's our recommended. And again, because we've got at least a couple herbicide options, that can lower your seeding rate. So that a lot of the research that I've done in the past, hemp can be a lot like our crop of canola or soybeans, where if the planting density happens to decrease a little bit, hemp has the ability to branch lower in the canopy. Essentially, the internodes or the branches get closer together, and it just gets to be a bushier plant. So you don't necessarily sacrifice yield with a lower planting density, but until you have weed issues. And that's the biggest issue is hemp does have a bit of a mortality issue. It's a little bit tougher to establish than, say, a traditional wheat crop or corn crop. You have to take care on seeding depth, etc. There's a few things, but you want to make sure that you give hemp the advantage. So the backdrops that both you and Dave have, very robust crop, that happens starting about July. And so that's when you get a lot of weed suppression. So yeah, we recommend a higher seeding rate, because that's essentially your herbicide cost. So 25 to 30 pounds is what we recommend. And that converts into about 10 to 12 plants per square foot, which I feel is sort of the plant establishment goal that a farmer wants to get to maximize his yield and return.
So you see approval of herbicides coming?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's already some biologicals that are out there with the IR4, and the last 2 days I've just sat through the Canadian, what's called the minor use registration. So crops with limited acreage, such as hemp in Canada, we only had, so 170,000 acres was kind of the peak that we had a year or two ago, where, there's millions of acres of canola. Chemical companies don't want to invest the research into providing the MRLs or the effects or the effectiveness of that herbicide on a crop. So that was another part of my job. So we essentially kind of just sprayed hemp with different herbicides, and whatever survived, then we went through the process of what's called minor use. So making sure that we can determine when to spray and what those residual levels will be to make it, to ensure that the food is healthy. And so US has a similar program, and the conjunction or the cooperation or collaboration between Canada and US is called IR4 projects. And so there are projects going on that will enhance, I guess, the toolbox for those that are in conventional farming, that herbicides will be available for hemp production. Not to say that there's an organic market and there's a conventional market for so.
The organic market pays a little higher for the pound of grain than the conventional does.
Yeah, so the organic means organic fertilizer also, and that's where hemp shines as far as being able to suppress weeds, as we talked about to a certain degree. You definitely have to try to give hemp the advantage early on to outcompete, but it can. The issue, I guess, is that it's a hungry plant. Hemp likes its nutrients. It's a high nitrogen user, a high phosphate user, high potassium user. So you have to, as all organic farmers know, they're playing chess where conventional farmers are playing checkers. You have to have a crop rotation that in effect provides you with those nutrients prior to seeding hemp, because you just can't go down to your local crop input store as readily as a conventional farmer can to apply X amount of nitrogen or X amount of phosphate. So there's crops and there's other, as mentioned, biologicals that can be used to do that, but it's and the result is occasionally, not always, but occasionally organic production produces less volume than on the conventional side.
And let's talk quickly about a little bit about fiber. So fiber, plant a little heavier, right?
Plant a little heavier. So as I mentioned, if hemp has space, those internodes, so that's the space between the branches. And so when you're looking at a fiber crop, you want those plants competing against each other, reaching for that sunshine, and that stretches out. So during that period in July, we call that the elongation phase. So the more rapid that crop can grow in a period of time, the more good long bast fiber is within and that's kind of a quality issue. So if it's really fiber and you're looking at the absorbent herd as a fiber, not as important with seeding rate, I would suggest. In fact, you might want to lessen your seeding rate so that the pith or the inside of the hemp plant is bulkier and has more material. But for growing fiber for the textile industry in particular, a higher seeding rate, taller genetics, and fast growing are the key.
Excellent. Now, Jeff, I guess we'll wrap this up just a little bit here so we've got time for Jen, but when you harvest the grain, and then do you do anything with the stalk of the plant at this time?
There's been a couple companies that have kind of tried to establish a market for that fiber. It hasn't taken on to as great a degree as we would like, of course. And so personally, even as our own company is looking further into that as far as being able to harvest that fiber, because it's right now I would consider it as a lemon in the industry, because hemp, the benefit of hemp is it's one of the strongest naturally occurring fibers in the world. One of the shadiest things about hemp is it's the strongest naturally occurring fibers in the world. And it's difficult to incorporate it into the soil with our short growing season. When we get into fall and we don't have those heat and the microbes are starting to slow down as far as helping degrade the fiber so that it can actually be worked into the soil, it becomes an issue the following spring when we try to seed into that. It tends to wrap on the packers of our seeders and cause issues in wrapping. So currently we're trying to find a way to incorporate it into the soil, but many of the times it's actually set on fire, which is another, as an agronomist, it just kills me to even have to say that, but that's just the fact. So, the advancement in mobile decorticators and more people and industries that are interested in the fiber aspect, whether it's bioplastics, composites, or what have you, we hope that is going to change. And so being able to have full plant utilization is definitely high on the list for hemp production in Canada.
We got a couple of questions, but we're going to wait to the end of the show to come back to those. We're going to jump in and give Jen a chance here to talk a little bit. All right. Dave, you want to take that one away? Oh, Dave's on mute. So Jen, how you doing?
Yeah, I
There
was
we go.
over here typing away, trying not to distract. So, hi, Jen.
Hey there.
What's going on?
Easy day. We're gearing up for the season. This is go time right now for us.
So, yeah, you have seedlings in the greenhouse.
Yep.
What type of varieties are you growing this year?
This year we're gonna have our version of therapies, yummies, my favorite EC11, and some royals, and a couple. We're doing some R&D with some CBG. We're trying to find a little bit more stable CBG than we've had worked with in the past. A lot of cool things. You know, right now is the point of our game where our mothers that we've been babying since last year, we're getting ready to cut our next batch of mothers for our clones this year. You know, because we could potentially put out 20 to 50,000 clones for our clients. So we have to have the appropriate mothers to get the clones. And cloning is our specialty. We find it really reliable. Most of our clients are for smokable hemp, craft flower, oil, stuff like that. So that's where a lot of our focus is.
How do you see your farmers doing? The market has been pretty tough this last year or so.
I think they're doing great. I think one of the reasons they're doing great is because when we work with a farm, we make sure that they're successful from the day that we meet until their product is processed. And we make sure that they have somewhere to get their product too, because I mean, if all these farmers are growing hemp and we're growing hemp, if there aren't the demand and the need for those final products such as oils, tinctures, isolates, distillates, soaps, lotions, things like that, they're not going to want to grow anymore. So I think that our personal farms that we worked with last year and the year prior are doing really good. They're happy. They're talking about doing it again. But I think it has a lot to do with having, as us being a genetic dealer or supplier, we don't just sell our genetics unless that's what they want, but we don't just sell our genetics and say, bye, see ya if I ever see you. So we make sure that they're successful. So I think that maybe that's why our results are still standing above the price market. A lot of people processing aren't really getting around to actually processing until right now. So, the prices are climbing back up as opposed to like October when everybody harvested, processed, and got their stuff flooded out into the market.
Okay.
Jen, do you see, with the way the market is right now and with the price that we have now to be able to grow, are you seeing a reduction in acres at all and growing? Or are you guys still pretty much where you were last year?
Yeah, we're still seeing the same. I mean, we tend to deal with people who are farming 1 to 10 acres. But again, that's a lot of craft, good quality oil, high in the oil. So I'd say, it's still stable in my eyes.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. That is.
Yeah, it's good to see what the products do for people too, isn't it?
It is, like I had mentioned in my bio. I'm a user of CBD tinctures, oils, and things like that, and I let Western medicine go as far as maintaining a chronic condition that I was born with that can never be cured at this point in 2021. So CBD is just the health benefits. Environmental is amazing, but the health benefits I think are groundbreaking. And me personally, being able to turn my health around to something that my poor mother had been in tears about for a long time. And I truly believe, this is my personal opinion and experience, but I truly believe introducing CBD into my body with my condition was the golden ticket for me.
Yeah, it's exciting to see it, to hear that. So with the, the planting, is there any technology changes you're seeing that are coming with the planting and the harvesting? As we have more innovation and such, or any breakthroughs that you're seeing?
Um, Not as far as planting. I mean, we really want to stick to, we like the idea of utilizing the farmers, transplanters and stuff, because a lot of our clients were soybean or were corn or beets or whatever, dairy farmers, whatever they had. We like the mechanical transplanters. We like the traditional equipment. There's cool products out there like Corey with VZ Tech and his buckers and,
Mhm.
you know, and the testers. That's pretty cool. That there's companies out there working like Neogen really hard to get handheld testers in our farmers' hands so that they can watch their crop and feel successful and confident from week 1 to your harvest.
Mhm.
So, I do see some innovations, but I'm a real big fan of your basic mechanical transplanter, mulch layer, things like that. It's all integrated into what our farmers have used before.
And with harvesting still hanging, or do you see a lot of use of mechanical dryers?
Yeah, they're on the larger scale, yes, mechanical drying, which they're kind of taking the tobacco drying methods though that were implemented in places, down south where they grew tobacco. We're shipping the containers up here and we're drying in them. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. Trimming, if you want to do a flower, this is the first time this year that I've worked with a product that it's a tumbler and we blast CO2, liquid CO2 into the tumbler, which is as quiet as a mouse, which is not traditional with the machinery that we work with in this industry. We're blasting liquid CO2 in there, dropping the temperatures down and getting just a beautiful trim. And then we're also dropping the temperatures lower, to say between negative 40 and negative 80, and we're able to make hash from that, golden hash. So it's an old technology, but now it's being implemented, because in marijuana industry, we've seen a lot of these smaller scale trimmers and stuff, but now they're building them bigger and they're saying, hey, how much do you harvest with your hemp? And we're saying, hey, several hundred pounds, you know, and they're able to keep up. I recently bumped into that's the resonator, the CO2 trimmer, and I think that thing does 10 pounds in 1 minute,
Hmm.
which is
Oh.
really, really cool compared to the things that we have, people were saying, oh, well, we can do 15 pounds in an hour. Well, wow, this is great,
Yeah, well, that saves a lot of cost. That's huge.
Jen, I'm assuming that people can still get orders into you for plants at this point if they need to.
Yeah, actually, and what's the date today? We've got our preseason orders where they're going to save 1% on their total order until March 1st. So we've got our preseason pricing, and we like to get those contracts booked and they'll save some money, but we also can take later orders. I mean, they still have got plenty of time. It is time to pick your genetics and what you're doing and get your fields ready and pick your team. But yeah, and we were able to accommodate because we like to grow, grow big or go home. So we grow extra every year because if we're not going to sell them to a farmer, we can utilize them ourselves. We have over 100 acres of our own that we farm for our own personal gains. And we were able to hook up some really late farmers that were afraid that they had missed the ship. The ship had sailed. So at Michigan Hemp Supply, we hold on to quite a stock. That way we can supply. I mean, we had a gentleman come in. I mean, he was planting late, so he actually was able to get some teenage plants from us where he had kind of missed that clone window where his plants would have been too small. And we had several hundred teenagers ready to go out the door for him to pick up the next day.
We'll put the contact information for both of you guys in the chat here too. We'll get that in there. Make sure we get that up there.
Yeah, I also want to thank you, Jen. Michigan Hemp Supply is a sponsor of the iHemp Hour this month. So thank you very much for that. Did you want me to share that video during the show?
Yeah, sure. We may
Oh,
go
my-
for a little bit today, but not too long.
My voiceover, that was my first one. Okay, guys.
It's good.
Oh,
I know,
it's a friendly crowd here. Let me find my hit the
Include
right.
that and then.
Oh, see, and I
Jeff
did it again.
Didn't share the audio, right? Come
I
on.
did not, you know,
He
I'm
can
gonna
be
have
taught.
I'm gonna have to
Make
talk to
him a
Zoom.
little thing and stick on in front of his computer or something, you know.
Well, you know, it should be set as a default. Oh,
I'm not hearing
hearing
the sound,
anything.
Dave. Ah, there we
There
go.
we go.
Mid-Michigan Hemp Supply, located in Midland, Michigan, specializing in your trusted hemp genetics and services. Contact us now to lock in your preseason pricing and let us help you get your 2021 hemp plans underway. You can reach us at info@midmichiganhempsupply.com. Check out our website at midmichiganhempsupply.com, and don't forget to check out our social medias.
Beautiful. There we
Great voiceover.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
go.
Let's see, Jeff, there's a couple questions you can answer. First one we got is, are you able to feed the grain to animals in Canada for market, the animals that are going to market?
Not yet, no. So that's another one of the projects, I guess, that both countries are working on, the international or national hemp feed coalition. So what the objective there is that we're trying to bridge some data out of Europe to fast track that a little bit more. In the past in Canada, we have done some research on laying hens and how supplying grain to laying hen chickens, I guess, how that transfers into egg. And there is a definite transfer of the omegas into the eggs. And so there's many advantages, I think, as a feed supply. And I think it's an important aspect as we have some certain, obviously some requirements, both biological requirements and physical requirements of what our hemp seed and our hemp grain and hemp nut looks like. If it fails that, then right now the option is for the bird food industry, which it can happen, but moving it forward into an animal feed will be critical, I think, for the longevity of the industry also. So yeah, it's very important.
So who's going to get it done first, US or Canada?
Our new executive director for the CHTA comes from the livestock industry, so we got one leg up there. Maybe I'm not sure, but he's definitely instrumental in getting it. And I don't think if we get it a day ahead, it's not going to be long before US gets it right after. But it's just good that there's a unilateral shift there and a collaborative effort to move it forward, because it's definitely a necessity, in my opinion.
And then Eric has a question. What are the pros and cons of monoecious and dioecious varieties? What would Jeff recommend?
Well, the con of a monoecious variety is that hemp's happy place is a dioecious crop. And so as a pedigreed seed grower and as dealing in both those in my past, a monoecious crop needs an awful lot of work of roguing or pulling out the males. Either to, or the off types. And so whether it's, a monoecious, for those that don't know, of course, has both male and female plants or parts on the same plant. And the pro, I think, is that in grain production, I have not seen a distinct advantage or disadvantage for either one. And so I think the reason that the monoecious varieties were brought forward was more so for the fiber industry. And dioecious is typical for, as we are as humans, I guess. It tends that the females live a little bit longer. The males kind of take up a lot of groceries, take up a lot of room on the couch, and then do their job and then die off. And so that causes an issue with fiber qualities, because if harvest is waiting too long, you've got two very distinct different types of fiber there. You've got a very dry male fiber that's already sort of started a redding process, just standing, and the females are still, doing a lot of work and in seed production. So a monoecious variety, you've got a more uniform fiber quality there. But on the grain side, again, I haven't seen distinct advantages or disadvantages in yield, and I think predominantly is because on a monoecious, the segregation, I guess, between the male parts and the female parts are probably split between that 50-50 or 60-40 towards the female. And that is the same ratio that male to female plants in the field on a dioecious. So that's just from the data that I've seen over the last 20 years, we've got some very high yielding dioecious and very high yielding monoecious. So it's just, I think more so on the fiber side, in my opinion.
Are you guys doing any dual crops, where you have grain and fiber?
Yeah, that's becoming even more. And I would suggest even we've probably gone down the path of fiber and CBD more so than grain. As soon as we harvest the grain crop, even though we're leaving the majority of the field, if it's a 10-foot high crop, let's just say, and we're harvesting 2 feet of the top of the crop, which is the seed head, and we've got 8 feet of fiber essentially left. Even the crop that's gone through the combine, that's already started a decortication system. And so the fiber behind the combine is different from the fiber standing in the field. So there's been a few companies where they've actually just tried to harvest in between the windrows after the grain has been taken off, so that you can have a more consistent fiber. On the CBD side of things, we've had producers where they've had stripper headers where they're stripping the leaf material off, processing that leaf material for CBD production, and then the machine also windrows the stalk, and then you can kind of come in and bale that and take everything off the field. And so that's been kind of a bit of a popular aspect, but both of them have been there, Bill, and of course there's always advantages and disadvantages to each system. I always ask the question, that question gets asked, and can you have a tri-crop? Can you harvest for CBD, hemp, and I think economics will rule that, and genetics to a certain degree, but are you better off talking to Jen about getting a high value CBD crop? So you've got 30 acres to grow. Grain crop. Jen, I'm putting. Can you hear me okay?
Well, we lost you there for about 10 seconds.
Yeah, so the question is, do you grow 30 acres of a tri-crop, or do you go to someone like Jen, get 10 acres of good CBD, 10 acres of good grain, and then find 10 acres of, our cultivars are predominantly grain fiber, not fiber grain or straight fiber. So that's the question I think that a farmer needs to ask himself. And so it's the economics that are going to rule that. And in my opinion, you pick an industry and you focus your energy and your efficiencies in providing the best quality product for that one industry. And if you can make a little bit extra off the side on something else, then you do that. But that's my attitude, I guess, towards that.
I have a question. Blaine and I have been talking a lot about. Blaine's starting to produce some hemp seed oil, and I've been experimenting with it. What do you find the most use for hemp seed oil?
For us, it's a culinary oil, so we do provide that. So much like olive oil, and so it's a cold pressed oil. If you try to cook with it, as far as using it as a frying oil, you start to break down the nutritional components within the plant. So even processing using a cold press process holds the integrity of as far as the nutritional value. The challenge is making sure that you aren't that you have a safe food products. And so making sure that the grain is handled so that you don't have yeast and mold or any other issues associated with that. And so, there's just a ton of uses. If you happen to not be able to make food quality, we utilize off-grade oil, we call it, for the industry, such as stains, most of my furniture in the house now has some form of hemp oil on it. And so, yeah, just rubbing it into as a wood preservative is great. There's just a ton of uses. There's people looking now as far as biofuel. But predominantly it's utilized as a culinary oil. And, a lot of times I'll actually even take it playing hockey. The knees just aren't what they used to be, and getting up and down stairs, but it does have that anti-inflammatory in there, where even a couple tablespoons of hemp oil in the morning will sort of help ease that pain. So that's essentially how most of it is used, but we do sell a lot of cold pressed hemp oil into the marketplace for those.
Yeah, Dave can relate to the hockey analogy.
Oh man, hemp and hockey go together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Without the hemp, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Any other questions that's come in?
Let me take a look.
Look at that. While you're looking at that, I'm going to say we've got an iHemp member that's going to be opening a store down in the southwest part of the state. So anybody down that Berrien Springs area, I love it. This is some of the swag that they're going to have there called Hemp in it.
I saw that on the back of your chair when you moved. I was wondering what that was.
That's what that was, and I love their little saying on the back that they've got here too. So.
Oh yeah, very nice.
Devoted to excellence and driven by passion.
Ah.
Yep.
Good one.
So so they're going to be opening up a store down there. I think he said April 15th, tax day. So you can go down.
Okay, yeah.
Of course, that got changed this year, didn't it? Yeah, that's right.
No anymore.
So that'll be opening up on the 15th down in Berrien Springs, and we'll have some more information on that as we get closer to that opening for them. So also, I want to make sure that you all help with bill number 841. Make sure you contact your representatives. Help them support that. That's going to give us a regulatory pathway to bring CBD to the market and all the other hemp supply things that will go along with that. Going to kind of push FDA along to get that product done that they're not getting taken care of for us. So.
The easy way to do that too is to go to hempsupporter.com, the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, and they have that easy tool to take action on that.
Yep. Takes about less than 5 minutes.
Yep, real easy.
Help push that forward so we can get the market keep going. So, all right. Any other questions, Dave?
No others came in. Jen, did we touch on anything else you want to share with us today?
Just it's time for our Michigan farmers to get ready. Real quick, I had these cute little notes written here,
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you guys for having me today. I wanted to thank the Burchinis, the owners of Mid-Michigan Hemp Supply and MMD Holistic, for letting me join their team. I also wanted to thank a couple companies that we've collaborated with in the last 3 years, such as iHemp, my faves, Advanced with their nutrients, Clonex, VZ Tech, Neogen, JC with Sutton Farms and their hemp masks. And, we're doing some really cool collaborations. And I just want to thank everyone. And I should also thank my husband. He's probably watching, hopefully, my parents and my kids for supporting these really long work hours, because I'm sure every one of you can agree hemping is not easy.
Hemping is hard.
Yeah.
Big thanks to them for keeping you in the game. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. And just, as far as everyone on the panel and everyone watching, send your people to us. We'll get them a great quote. We'll hold their hand and we'll help them from the soil to the oil or whatever they're doing.
Excellent.
Jeff, anything you want to wrap up with?
No, just kind of echo Jen's. It's part of what I think sets hemp genetics and hemp production services apart, is providing the agronomy support. So my 20 years, I often say that my hair used to look like both Dave and Blaine's prior to getting into hemp, but this is what 20 years of plus of hemp production is going to get you. Used to look like Elvis. So it's not easy, as Jen said too. And so we're committed to helping farmers be successful, providing the agronomy advice along with the seed. So contact us, contact iHemp. They've got our contact number, and for us getting it across the border, we've got some genetics stateside, but it does take a while with regulations and permits. So the sooner the better if you're interested in grain and fiber. So give us a call. And thank you so much for having me, and pleasure to meet Jen and Mike on the show too. So thank you.
Yeah, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
We're making a difference.
Yeah, so I'll throw out a little bit. I am a certified seed dealer for HGI. I've been doing that for a couple of years. So if any of you have any questions on that, you can get hold of me as well on that. So
Cool. Good to know because I'm interested.
Yeah,
okay.
I wasn't sure if that was
There you go.
in your hemp radio contract, Dave or Blaine, so I didn't want to say it. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Thanks.
I should have probably done a disclaimer at the front on that.
Yeah.
situation, but
Yeah.
I didn't want people to know that I do, and it's not the main purpose of the show. So
No.
that's why even when I do my little my recipe here that we're getting ready to, I always
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about
it's
the
time
hemp
for the
oil.
recipe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jeff.
right
Now you're
there.
going to see the
Okay.
highlight of the show coming up.
This is why
Stay
everybody
tuned.
watches, I know. So because they like to see my
All
special.
right, here it
content I put
comes.
on.
All right.
There you go, yeah. So today we're bringing you a string bean a la hemp nut recipe.
Ooh.
Crispy and bright green with satisfying nutty taste of hemp seeds, this side dish is sure to win raves. So 4 cups, this makes 3 to 4 servings, by the way. 4 cups fresh string beans, tips trimmed, cut into 2 pieces. They say extra virgin olive oil, but we always replace that with
Hemp seed oil.
Hemp
The
seed
Emperor's hemp seed oil.
Yeah.
We know where we can get that if you want to figure that out.
Down
One
on the
small red
farm, right? Yeah. Okay.
1 small red onion sliced into half moons, 1 to 2 cloves fresh garlic, thinly sliced, sea salt, 2 tablespoons of mirin, 1/4 cup shelled hemp seeds, 1 juice of lemon, about 3 tablespoons. Steam the green beans until the beans bright green color and crispy and tender, about 3 minutes. Drain and set aside to cool. Place a small amount of the hemp oil in a skillet and add an onion and garlic and place over medium heat. When the onion begins to sizzle, add a pinch of salt and saute until the onion is soft. About 2 minutes. Season with salt to taste and add the mirin. I have no idea what that is, but we're going to find out this weekend. Reduce heat to low cook. Uncover until the liquid has evaporated, remove from the heat, and stir in the hemp seed and lemon juice. To serve, arrange the steamed green beans on a platter and spoon the onion mixture over them. Serve immediately. So that is today's recipe. So,
And you can find that at ihempmichigan.com/recipe. There's
And
recipes. But it's linked up on iHemp Michigan.
soon, very soon. Yep. So, thanks, everybody. Anything else for the good of the cause?
Oh, we'll
Now,
see you
who's
next
on
week.
the show
We have,
next week? Oh, sorry. Talk
Dave-
over.
Yeah,
Stay tuned. Again, hopefully next week we'll be able to make an announcement of who we're going to be working with in the future to help move the hemp industry forward. So
Yeah, next week we have Cole Gibbs from Dama Distributing. They have a number of hemp products that they're manufacturing, so it's going to be interesting to learn about that.
thanks, Dave, for getting that in there.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again to our
Thanks. See you next
sponsors.
week.
Peace and love. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.